In 1997, a police officer was killed during a shootout with a fleeing gunman in Denver. But the person who received a life sentence for the murder wasn't the shooter. It was a woman already handcuffed in the back of a patrol car when the trigger was pulled. The case would ignite a national debate over the felony murder rule and attract the attention of an unlikely ally, gonzo journalist Hunter S. Thompson. Tonight, we break down the controversial case of Lisl Auman. I'm Mike.
I'm Ian.
And I'm Dave. If you thought Fear and Loathing only took place in Las Vegas, stick around. Turns out the Mile High folks in Denver want to get in on the action as well. This is Necronomipod.
Ian, I have some horrible news.
What's that?
My book loft candle has perished,
Oh, no.
and I do not have another one.
Damn. You have to go to Bath and Body Works.
I know. But you really got to wait till they do their sales. Otherwise, you just get fucking raped on the pricing.
Yeah, it's a little pricey sometimes if you don't go on those, like, buy whatever for...
Yeah. Usually Mrs. Dave Namapod will send me a text when they have the sale because she keeps up on that. And then I always fucking put it off and I wait and then I miss out. Meanwhile, she has a closet stocked with them and then I'm left with one fucking book loft.
That's true.
Well, Dave's like, I can confirm. I have a candle closet in my house.
I do. Yeah.
I have a woodwick candle burning right now.
Oh.
It's called White Teak.
I bet that's all right.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's not Bath and Body Works?
No.
Where you get
It's
something?
one of those ones with, like, the crackly wick on it.
Oh.
It's like a wooden wick.
Yeah. Where you get something like that?
I don't know. I found this in the closet. My wife had bought it at some point.
It was in your
I
candle
found it, I'm
closet.
like, shit. Yeah. I'm like, I'm going to burn this tonight.
I need to
We're
start
so
a candle
badass.
closet.
We all have candle closets.
I don't, and that's why I'm in a predicament tonight, Dave. I need to get a candle closet. We're fucking hard, man. Come on. We like pleasant scents as we go about our day.
I do like a pleasant scent, man.
I do too. It is really nice.
I also have some bad news to give Ian.
Damn.
Oh, jeez.
I hope you don't hate us, my wife and I. I need to give you an update on our recent rodent kill count of 2. A couple days ago, my wife was driving home and she ran over a raccoon.
Oh,
And then the next day I ran over a squirrel. So we have a
man.
back-to-back kill count. 2 rodents, 2 days. I'm sorry, pal. I hope it
I'm
wasn't
sure
a
your
friend
wife
of
was
yours.
pretty I'm sure your wife was pretty bummed out about
She
that.
was really bummed out, and I said, honey,
Yeah.
it's a rodent. It's okay.
I would have been really sad too.
He was probably had rabies, so he probably would have killed a little kid, so don't worry about it.
Jesus.
And the next day, I saw a squirrel. I'm like, I don't know why you're running in front of me, but I saw it coming, and
Oh,
caved his head in, and
Jesus Christ.
so yeah,
Yeah.
2 kill counts. Sorry, pal.
I love that we're just ruining Ian's day. This was not planned.
She's been
We're just ruining his day to start the show.
She's been worried for several days that you're not going to like her anymore because of this, but I assured her it was not her fault.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like she went out of her way to just fucking run over some animals. You know what I mean? Yeah. Well, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to bring the show down.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to really go from here. Do we just call it a day? Just pack it in?
Yeah. We saw it the next day, too. She's like, is that the one that killed? And I said, yeah, that's him. He's still there.
Still like barely moving an arm, like holding on to hope. Well, hopefully they get that cleaned up pretty quickly.
I hope so. I'm out of town, so you guys tell me it's over on Ryan Road, right by the neighborhood. See if he's still laying there.
Oh, this was when you were still in town.
Yeah, I was home.
Oh.
Sorry, pal. It was a local raccoon.
Yeah. I saw some raccoon paw prints around here the other night. I threw some food out.
Probably looking for
It was still there,
payback.
though.
Their mom.
What?
It was probably their mom. They were looking for payback.
They're scouting out Ian now. They've connected the dots that your vehicle is somehow related to Ian. Great. I can't wait for them to come to my house. Well, okay. Do we have any good news to talk about? Anything fun or exciting? March Madness starts soon.
Sure does. Next week, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
Most fun gambling couple days of the year.
As this episode drops, we'll be like 2 days away from it starting. At least the play-in games, right? Like the first four or whatever.
Yeah, oh yeah. Not picked the winner yet.
I haven't even looked at anything. I don't know.
Too
what's
early.
going on at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't follow college basketball that much at all, but I like watching the tournament, obviously. Just the sudden death aspect of it is so fun.
Yeah. Obviously.
You need to get him on the board.
I think I had it. Didn't I?
You might have.
I think it's on,
Well.
on their board. Yeah. Well.
I know we played the song version at one point.
Classic stuff.
Antoine Dodson, right?
Yeah, that's
my
right.
man.
This is, I thought I had retired from the Sunday show business. This is my first Sunday show that I am narrating in over 3 years, fellas.
Wow.
The last one I did was in November of 2022, the Bobby Kennedy assassination.
Oh, long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's a long time.
I thought I took my talents behind a paywall, yet here I am. Mike's History Corner, airing quarterly on patreon.com/Necronomipod.
Love that. It's my favorite website.
It's a good one.
It is. All kinds of good content.
Where you can find all of our bonus content, our nude photos, and, all that fun stuff.
How'd you find this one?
So I was reading a Hunter Thompson book called Hey Rube, which is a collection of articles he wrote for ESPN.com late in his life. And Hunter has always been a diehard sports fan and obviously political junkie and journalist. And so a lot of these articles are sports related, but he had mentioned this case in it because, as we'll get to tonight, he gets heavily involved. And so usually now, whenever something true crime pops up on my radar, I'll send it like to you, Ian, and be like, hey, possible show, maybe we'll look into this. And that's how I found it. And then it just spiraled into, maybe I'll just do the research on this one and we'll see where it goes.
So I assume that Fear and Loathing references Hunter S. Thompson wrote that. Is that a short story that he wrote?
Yeah. So
I've actually never seen that movie, surprisingly.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is his most popular, probably, novel. And then that was turned into a movie with Johnny Depp and is it Benicio del Toro, Dave?
I think it is, yeah.
And Johnny Depp and Hunter Thompson were good friends in real life. And so after that, a lot of Hunter's work, actually it dates back further. He covered the 1972 presidential campaign as like a journalist traveling, and doing all that with the candidates. And that was compiled into a book called Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. So a lot of Hunter's work is just slapped on with Fear and Loathing.
Okay.
I'm not sure if the Fear and Loathing campaign book came out before the Las Vegas novel. I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up. But anyways, the Fear and Loathing thing is just a Hunter kind of running title for a lot of his shit. But the book Hey Rube, that was the name of his ongoing article on ESPN.com. He was a big gambler, big into sports. He loved all that shit. And so near the end of his life, he would, like I said, write on ESPN, and they collected all those works and put it in a book. And during this time is when he was involved with Lisl. So that's why it just kind of sparked my interest. And I was like, okay, we could look into this. Good conversation piece, I think.
Mm-hmm. If you read his piece on us in Vanity Fair, not really a fan of the police.
He is not. No,
not in the slightest.
Not really a fan of authority in general.
No, he's not.
Is Hunter Thompson.
No, he's not.
Did you read it, Dave? I sent it to you guys.
I did.
I only read part of it, and then I got busy, and I never got to finish it.
Well, I skimmed it. I did not read word for word. I read most of it, though.
All right. Like I said, I read the articles that were in the book, but I didn't read the Vanity Fair piece. And we can post that if people want it, or, DM me if you want the article on Instagram. We'll send it out.
Is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas considered like a classic or something? Like, should I be ashamed of myself for never seeing that?
The movie?
The movie.
The book is better.
That
like always, the book is better, I think. But
I think it's considered a classic. I've never read it, so don't feel bad.
Okay.
It's very weird. Like
Hunter Thompson's a weird guy.
Yeah, a lot of drug use, a lot of jumping around. Like the first 10 minutes of Fear and Loathing, you're like, what the fuck is even happening? What am I watching right now? But that's just kind of his style. He's out there, man. He was on all kinds of shit. He's the one that I first read about when I was reading Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail, 1972. He had mentioned in that he, whenever he was upset and depressed on how the politics were going, he would go home and drink jugs of gin and grapefruit juice. And then now that has become one of my favorite drinks. I get it at the pool all the time. That's just my go-to. It's all because of Hunter Thompson.
That drink is known as the Mike Special at the pool. Double gin and grapefruit juice.
That's right, double gin. You gotta put some hair on your chest when you're drinking it, right? All right, should we get started?
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Lisl Auman was born in 1976 to Don and Colleen Auman, though her exact date of birth isn't actually known. She grew up in Colorado in what many later described as a fairly ordinary middle-class environment. In 1987, her parents were divorced, but both remained involved in her life. As a teenager and young adult, she was described by friends as social, friendly, and drawn toward the counterculture lifestyle that surrounded the Grateful Dead and similar scenes of the 1990s. She probably had tattoos and smoked weed like a common criminal, but that's just me speculating.
Probably. Grateful Dead, one of the worst bands in history, yes or no?
Yes, I agree.
I've never listened to them.
Awful.
I don't get it.
I mean, I've probably heard a song somewhere, you know what I mean? But I've never sat down and listened to one of their songs before.
You don't need to. It's awful.
I never will.
Good. I don't want you to. Life's too short to inflict that misery on yourself.
I'm glad we solved that tonight.
It's just never going to happen.
After she attended some junior college, Auman dropped out and drifted through a series of jobs and relationships. By the mid-1990s, she had taken work connected to forestry and reforestation projects in the Buffalo Creek area southwest of Denver. The region had recently experienced devastating fires and flooding, and seasonal workers had come into the area for cleanup and rebuilding efforts.
Let me say one more thing. The closest you should ever get to the Grateful Dead is eating Ben & Jerry's Cherry Garcia. Delicious. Enough said.
Is that vanilla ice cream with cherries in it or chocolate?
Like chocolate cherries?
In vanilla ice cream?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Like chocolate crusted really cherries, right? I think.
You're the ice cream expert, pal, not me.
It's delicious.
Okay.
It's all a blur, though. I have so many different Ben & Jerry favorites. So
you're a big fan. You've been fishing for that sponsorship for a while.
I love Ben & Jerry.
During this time, Auman became involved with a man named Sean Cheever. Cheever was living at a place known as the Buffalo Creek Lodge, which functioned as kind of a rustic boarding house where seasonal workers and drifters often stayed. The relationship between Auman and Cheever didn't last long and reportedly became unstable and contentious. Auman had also discovered that Cheever was involved in some petty crimes. By late 1997, Auman had left Buffalo Creek and was living in her father's home in Denver. It was during this time that she became friends with a woman named Demi Soriano. The breakup with Cheever had not been clean. Auman still had belongings at the lodge, and so she wanted to return and get her stuff. However, she believed Cheever had mistreated her, and she was worried about a confrontation if she went back alone. This concern led Soriano and her boyfriend, Dion Gerze, to offer to help Auman get her belongings from the apartment that she had shared with Cheever. With them, Gersey had also brought along 2 friends. One was Stephen Dupree, and the other was Matthaeus Jaehnig. Jaehnig would later become the most infamous name connected to the case because he was the man who ultimately shot and killed the police officer. A friend of Gersey, Jaehnig had a history of legal trouble that included assault, drug offenses, and weapons possession. He also had a reputation for being volatile, heavily armed, and deeply hostile toward police. Gersey himself had already had prior legal trouble, as well as associations with extremist skinhead groups. So this isn't really a group made up of like quiet suburban helpers volunteering to help someone move their, possessions. These were dangerous men that were coming along for this ride. It's also unclear if Auman knew the full story of how kind of dangerous these men were. That's part of the cloudiness that kind of covers a lot of this story.
So like stuff like the being involved in skinhead groups that might be a secret.
Yeah, it's not clear if Auman was aware of that at the time. She was just looking for help, and her friend was like, oh, my boyfriend and his friends can help type thing.
Just ignore the big swastika tattoo on the back of his neck.
Yeah, right. We don't know that for sure.
No, I'm just, Allegedly.
According to statements that Auman would later give to investigators, she knew Gersey and Jaehnig carried guns, and she admitted that she had asked Gersey not to kill Cheever if there was a confrontation. Gersey reportedly responded that he couldn't promise anything. That exchange would later become one of the most damaging pieces of evidence against her because prosecutors would argue it showed she knew violence was a real possibility before the trip even began. So there's a little hint of some knowing, perhaps. On November 12, 1997, the group drove from Denver to Buffalo Creek in 2 vehicles. Auman rode in a stolen Pontiac Trans Am with Jaehnig behind the wheel, while Soriano, Gersey, and Dupree followed in Soriano's car. When they arrived at the Buffalo Creek Lodge, Auman and Soriano began moving Auman's belongings out of her bedroom. At some point during all this, the situation escalated. Sean Cheever's bedroom in the apartment was secured with a padlock, and one of the guys used bolt cutters to break the lock. Auman, Gersey, and Dupree entered the room and grabbed some of Auman's belongings. However, the guys also took some items that belonged to Cheever.
They just happen to have bolt cutters with them? I'm sure she told them, my old boyfriend padlocks his door, so be prepared kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a specific item to bring along with you.
I don't need bolt cutters in my car, just so you guys know. I don't regularly carry them around. Double-sided dildos and stuff, that I have in my car.
You never know.
You never know when you're going to need to party.
This detail became critically important later because the legal definition of burglary requires entering or remaining in a structure with the intent to commit a crime inside, usually theft. And this is us jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective so we understand as the story moves on. Auman's defense would later argue that she went there simply to retrieve her own belongings and that the decision to take Cheever's property was spontaneous and not part of any original plan. Prosecutors, however, argued that the entire trip had been organized as a revenge burglary and that Auman knowingly participated in it. That distinction would ultimately determine whether the felony murder rule could be applied to her. We'll get more into that later.
Hard to pinpoint someone's state of mind, right? And what they actually knew versus what they didn't.
That's going to get down to a lot of the root of this.
Yeah. That's the crux of the matter, isn't it, Mike?
It's the crux of the matter. Yeah. The group left the lodge a short while later, and the 2 vehicles separated as they drove away. Meanwhile, residents in the area had noticed the suspicious activity and called 911 to report a possible burglary in progress. The caller also provided the license plate numbers. Police responded to the area and soon spotted the stolen Trans Am that Jaehnig and Auman were in. When officers activated their lights and sirens, Jaehnig accelerated and attempted to flee. A high-speed chase began. During the pursuit, Jaehnig leaned out of the car window and fired 3 shots at pursuing deputies with an assault rifle. At one point, according to later testimony, Auman grabbed the steering wheel to help keep the car from crashing while Jaehnig fired. While regaining control of the car, Jaehnig struck another car, briefly coming to a stop. Auman recalled opening the passenger door of the car and considered escaping. However, she reported Jaehnig demanded she stay in the car, so she complied.
9999. This guy German? I assume he's German, right?
He is now. If he
Yeah, he is now.
We've slapped that on him. The prosecution would later argue this showed she actively assisted in the violent escape, while the defense argued that she was terrified and simply trying to survive inside a vehicle controlled by an armed and unstable man. Also, if you're kind of trying to stay under the radar, I don't know that a stolen Trans Am is the right vehicle to take to a situation like this where you may or may Probably
not be also committing some burglaring.
Probably not the best car to take.
Just my thought.
You know, for a second, I was going to interrupt and say, oh, the grabbing of the steering wheel, that seems like that's like you're kind of in on it. But then I was kind of thinking, as you guys were talking, like, maybe not, because if he's got a gun and he says, take the wheel, what are you going to do? Be like, no, I'm going to let us die.
They're going very fast. Would you not grab the
like,
wheel just to potentially save yourself from crashing?
Right. Your own self-preservation.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I take back what I was thinking.
Yeah, that's fair. You're going, I don't know how many, it's what, 70, 80 miles an hour, and the guy driving turns around to shoot his rifle out the window, and you're kind of starting to go into a slide or whatever. I think natural instinct is going to be, your reaction is going to be to grab the wheel so you don't flip over.
Don't crash. Yeah. I agree with that.
Regardless of what Jaeger bomb's doing out the window.
Jaeger bomb. He's about as dangerous as a Jaeger bomb.
Man, those used to be my go-to back in the day.
Dude, you used to destroy those.
I fucking love those things.
Years ago, probably 15 years ago, our mutual friend who plays in a band, we used to take a whole Jaeger bomb set up, like, and leave it in his car. And we used to go out in the parking lot when his band was playing and do Jaeger bombs in the parking lot.
Oh my God.
He always had those cups that were fucking perfect for Jaeger bombs.
Yeah.
That had like the little shot glass built in.
Yeah, that's right. He was a pro, man. That was his thing. He's Mr. Jaeger bomb. He liked two things: Jaeger bombs and hairy pussies.
That sounds about right. When the chase finally ended, Jaehnig drove into the parking area of the Monaco Place condominium complex in southeast Denver. Police vehicles quickly surrounded the area. Officers approached cautiously with their weapons drawn, shouting commands for the occupants to surrender. Auman and Jaehnig had taken cover in a narrow alcove near one of the building's stairwells. The alcove was small and partially enclosed, creating kind of a blind corner that officers couldn't easily see into.
Can I ask, at this point, they really didn't do any criming. Even if they stole a couple belongings from her boyfriend, there's no major crime here. What's up with this guy? Why is he going off the deep end like this, shooting at cops?
Oh, I was like, well, wait a minute. He was shooting at police. There was some crime.
Why, though?
Yeah. Well, he hated police.
That's it, huh?
He was off his rocker. I think we'll get into later. He was fucking high on meth.
Okay.
So it just seems like he just went rogue, kind of.
Yeah.
Is how it seems. Well, it also depends on who you believe. You know, which way you take this story. Jaehnig himself was kind of, you know, what's the always sunny wild card, bitches. Like maybe he was not meant for this mission.
Was he a fellow skinhead as well?
I didn't see that, but he was known to carry a bunch of weapons. He had past crimes, and he was known to hate police.
And his name was Jaehnig.
Just somebody to go off the rails and fire at police like that. You think like that whole like skinhead,
right?
Extremist right vibe. Like they don't want to pay their taxes and shit. Like that's who would just start firing on a cop for no reason.
I only saw that attached to Gerze, who was the boyfriend who kind of helped orchestrate all of this, and then brought in Jaehnig, you know, as like one of his friends. So, but I didn't see it specifically. He could have been.
Yeah.
But I mean, what's that? Birds of a feather flock together. Like if we were going to move something, the three of us, I'm like, hey, this is my my friend Skinhead Man. He's gonna come along with us. You guys are like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
I don't think I want him going along. But Dave, does it tell you she has poor judgment that she was already a deadhead?
Yes. Very much so.
Something to keep in mind as we go through this.
Yeah. Oh, very much yes.
As officers closed in, Auman stepped out from the alcove with her arms up. Police immediately forced her to the ground, handcuffed her, and placed her in the back of a patrol car. At that moment, the officers believed both suspects had been secured, but Jaehnig had in fact not surrendered. Instead, he had slipped deeper into the alcove and hid inside a dead-end stairwell that officers hadn't yet searched. Several of the officers began moving through the complex looking for him. Denver police officer Bruce VanderJagt volunteered to check the stairwell area. VanderJagt approached the alcove cautiously and leaned around the corner to look inside the stairwell. At that moment, Jaehnig opened fire with a semi-automatic rifle. The attack was sudden and extremely violent. VanderJagt was struck repeatedly by rifle fire. Investigators later determined he had been hit multiple times in the head and torso. Officers nearby immediately returned fire, and a chaotic gun battle erupted in the narrow courtyard area of the complex. The confined space and the number of responding officers turned the scene into a storm of gunfire. Officers maintained their positions and kept firing into the alcove while attempting to contain Jaehnig. At some point during the exchange, Jaehnig ran out of ammunition in his rifle. He then crawled towards VanderJagt's body, took the fallen officer's service revolver, and used it to shoot himself beneath the chin, thus ending the shootout.
We were just talking about bolt cutters like about 10 minutes ago. And now all of a sudden this guy's killing himself.
Petty
and
property
police
crimes.
officer.
Yes.
Escalated
That's my whole
extremely
point.
quickly.
Right.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
That that really escalated. That really got out of hand.
Was that Anchorman?
Yeah.
That escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
It really did. By the time the gunfire stopped, 2 people were dead. Officer Bruce VanderJagt and Matthaeus Jaehnig. The entire incident had unfolded only minutes after Auman had been arrested and placed in the back of a police car. The entire scene was chaotic and heavily damaged. Hundreds of rounds had been fired during the exchange. Bullets shattered windows, splintered wood, and penetrated the walls of nearby apartments. The shootout left officers shaken and furious, and the death of VanderJagt, a respected member of the department, sent shockwaves through the Denver Police Department.
They're lucky nobody else got killed.
Yeah, with all that.
You know what I mean? Like just an innocent
walls,
bystander.
sure.
Yeah. Let's take a quick minute to talk about Bruce VanderJagt. He was a 47-year-old police officer with the Denver Police Department who had served on the force for several years and was known among colleagues as a steady, reliable patrol officer. Before becoming a police officer, VanderJagt had served in the United States Army, and friends described him as someone who valued discipline and public service. By the late 1990s, he was working patrol in southeast Denver, responding to calls and assisting with investigations in the area. Fellow officers later said he had a reputation for being calm under pressure and willing to step forward when a situation needed to be handled. When he was killed, he left behind a wife and a 2-year-old daughter. So meanwhile, as the shootout was going down, Auman sat handcuffed in the back of a patrol car as the gun battle unfolded just yards away from her. According to later testimony, one officer approached the vehicle during the aftermath and told her bluntly that she was going to be charged with murder. At that point, the focus of the investigation shifted rapidly toward determining how everyone involved in the burglary and chase could be held legally responsible for the death of an officer.
One thing I know, cops don't react well when other cops get killed. So if you're in the crossfire there, you're gonna be in for a world of trouble.
Yeah.
Especially when the guy that killed the officer killed himself, then you know what I mean?
Then
No
it's
one
like,
to blame.
okay, who do we blame for this then?
Sure. 100%.
Yeah, someone's going to pay for this. Who's it going to be?
Yep.
Two just quick notes I found just a little bit interesting while doing the research. When Jaehnig slipped in the alcove in the stairwell area, he had kind of cornered himself without realizing it. The stairwell didn't lead to an exit that he may have expected to be there. It was a dead-end space, meaning once officers surrounded the area, he had no real way out. So, just cornered and with his fucking assault rifle.
Dummy.
It should also be noted, and I said this earlier, but I just want to make clear, Soriano, Gersey, and Dupree were not a part of the police chase nor the shootout. They had separated from Jaehnig and Auman after leaving the lodge. All three were later arrested separately. We'll get into them just a bit later, too. After her arrest, Auman agreed to participate in 2 videotaped interviews, waiving her right to an attorney.
9. No. That should never be a sentence associated with you. Don't do it. No.
It was a Dave Trigger sentence.
Oh, my God. Waiving her right to an attorney should never be a sentence.
Nope. During both interviews, Auman was evasive, misidentifying the color of Jaehnig's car as green when the car was actually red, and inaccurately identifying her accomplices. She would later admit to providing false statements, stating that she was unaware Jaehnig had been killed and she feared retaliation from him. So again, this was kind of just a couple hours after the arrest. So she might not have been aware that he was alive or killed. At this point, you don't really know. Or we don't know for sure.
Doesn't matter. The one word response should be lawyer. Nothing else should come out of your fucking mouth. Period.
During the interviews, Auman acknowledged that she had steered Jaehnig's car while he shot at police. She denied ever intending to burglarize Cheever, although she did admit that when asked by her companions about Cheever's possessions the night before the incident, she did mention that he had owned 2 large speakers. Again, that's going to be important later when we get to the trial.
Mm-hmm.
She was formally charged with felony murder, which essentially equates to first-degree murder, first-degree burglary, first-degree assault, and menacing. Prior to going to trial, the Colorado District Attorney offered a plea deal in which Auman would have pleaded guilty to assaulting a police officer when she steered Jaehnig's car while he fired at pursuing officers. In exchange, she would have received a 30-year prison sentence. Auman declined the deal.
Yeah, I don't know. That's like my first reaction, like I said before, was that why are you grabbing the steering wheel? But that's going to be anybody's knee-jerk reaction in that situation.
Agree.
You're probably not just going to sit there and let yourself crash violently into another car or a wall.
That's
right.
That's self-preservation instinct for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also don't mean to come through the story like I have a side in this. I really don't. I'm trying to work it through as I was going through the notes. So please don't anyone think that I have necessarily a specific side in this. Lisl Auman's trial began on July 8th, 1998 in Denver. It lasted a total of 10 days. The prosecution was led by Deputy District Attorney Tim Twinnig, and Auman was represented by attorneys from the Colorado State Public Defender's Office because she and her family could not afford private counsel. The prosecution's case focused on the felony murder rule, as we hinted at earlier. So under Colorado law at the time, if someone committed certain serious felonies, such as burglary, and a death occurred during the crime or during the immediate flight from the crime, every participant in the initial felony could potentially be charged with murder, even if they didn't personally cause the death. Prosecutors argued that Auman had helped organize the burglary, knowingly associated with armed accomplices, participated in the crime, and assisted in the escape during the police chase. They also argued that when she was arrested, she failed to tell officers that Jaehnig was hiding in the alcove, something they claimed might have saved VanderJagt's life. From their perspective, Auman was not an innocent bystander swept into events beyond her control, but an active participant in a chain of crimes that led directly to the death of a police officer.
Very slippery slope with these kinds of laws, like anything that happens in the commission of a felony, anyone part of your criminal crew or an accessory, whatever, can be charged with murder. Like I've read about cases where, someone's shoplifting and they run away and a cop has a heart attack and dies chasing them.
Yeah.
And you end up getting charged with killing the cop. I mean, come on. That's just absurd.
Yeah.
So these are very broad, overreaching laws that I'm not a big fan of.
And I think we'll talk about that too in a minute. And the other part of this, though, is that, you know, they have to prove that she was a part of a burglary, which means intent when you enter the premises.
Right.
And, you know, the original story is that she was just trying to go get her belongings from an ex-boyfriend.
It's a cautionary tale for sure. I mean, 22-year-old girl maybe just met someone whose crew is not the greatest people, a couple of skinheads perhaps. She's just trying to get her shit back, and then all of a sudden you're on trial for your life because some fucking maniac that you rode with decides he's going to kill cops. Yeah. It's crazy.
The defense painted a very different picture, obviously. They argued that Auman's intent had been to retrieve her belongings from a failed relationship, not to organize a burglary. They argued that the theft of Cheever's property was not part of her plan and that the men with her had acted independently. They emphasized that Jaehnig was heavily intoxicated on methamphetamine at the time and acting unpredictably and violently, obviously. According to toxicology reports and expert testimony, Jaehnig had extremely high levels of meth in his system, which could produce paranoia, aggression, and impulsive behavior.
Like just firing on a cop out of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
On a burglary charge. It's so stupid. Yeah. The whole thing's just dumb.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. This month, we celebrate women. Not just the women in our lives, but all women. The month of March includes Women's History Day. It's a time to celebrate women's strength and progress. Be it in the workplace, at home with their families, or even getting through the unseen day-to-day responsibilities they hold, a woman's job never stops. And with that, their emotional well-being can be easily overlooked. So, we want to remind women how much they matter, and that therapy can offer a space for them to take care of themselves in the way they deserve. Each month, we at Necronomipod celebrate a powerful, groundbreaking, inimitable woman in our history shows, and this month will be no different. So think of the important women in your life: your mom, your sister, your partner, your coworker. Think of how hard they work, how successful they are. Think of the impact they've specifically had on you. Now, think about the pressure placed on these women, the expectations set on them. Therapy can help create balance, set boundaries, and support overall well-being for everyone. BetterHelp has been helping people find their match for over 12 years, having served over 6 million people globally, and has a 4.9 out of 5 rating with 1.7 million client session reviews. If you're looking for quality, BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform. After filling out a brief questionnaire, you'll be matched with a therapist that is tailored to fulfill your needs. If you aren't happy with your match, switch to a different therapist at any time for one of their recommendations. Your emotional well-being matters. Find support and feel lighter in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/necro. That's betterhelp.com/necro. Defense attorneys also argued that once Auman was arrested, she had no control over what Jaehnig would do next, and that she had been tackled, handcuffed, and placed into a patrol car within seconds of surrendering, and that she had no realistic opportunity to track exactly where Jaehnig had gone. The defense said that holding her responsible for a murder committed after she was already in custody stretched the felony murder rule beyond any reasonable interpretation. Throughout her trial, the courtroom was packed with police officers, as understandably so. Many of them had been on duty that day and filed reports from the crime scene. And despite the fact that no one disputed that Jaehnig was the killer, their outrage left them hell-bent on retribution. 2 cops even went the extra mile in their quest to see Auman convicted. In their initial reports, officers Mark Bennett and Jason Brake provided no information incriminating Auman in the shooting. They described her emerging with her hands up. They recalled officers cuffing her and putting her in the police car. Then, 2 days after the incident, they revised their reports, saying they saw Auman appear to hand a rifle to Jaehnig before surrendering to the police. They said it was merely coincidence they both suddenly remembered that crucial detail days later. They insisted they hadn't discussed it before, they individually revised their reports using remarkably similar language. Auman and her defense denied this, and these reports were so suspicious, even some of the jurors would later say they didn't believe Bennett and Brake's testimony.
That is amazing synchronicity that they both remember that suddenly 2 days later.
Yeah.
Fucking
It's
amazing.
crazy how that happened.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't put this in the notes, but the language used, and this is why they say like they use similar language, was that it appeared that Auman dipped down and like almost like she passed a gun to him before she came out. And the fact that they both use the word dip is, little interesting.
I wonder like what like the statistics behind two people using dip in that manner would be.
Suddenly, I remembered that she dipped down before she came out and surrendered.
Regardless of their testimony and what the jurors felt, after several hours of deliberation, the jury found Auman guilty of felony murder, second-degree burglary, menacing, and conspiracy to commit first-degree burglary. Auman was then sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, which was mandatory under Colorado law at the time for felony murder conviction. She was placed in the Women's Correctional Facility in Canyon City, Colorado.
Never been there.
Yeah, I've never been there either. I've only driven through Colorado. I've never actually stayed in Colorado.
Oh, I've been to Colorado. I meant Canyon City.
Yeah, that's what I'm just saying. I've been
I love
through
Colorado.
Colorado. It's gorgeous. I mean, it looks it, but I've never actually stayed in Colorado.
In the old days before Ohio had weed and Colorado had weed, and you go to the dispensaries out in Denver and
Have a blast.
have a blast.
Now there's a drive-through 10 minutes away.
Yes, there is.
The world couldn't be better.
I stayed in Estes Park and hiked in the Rocky Mountains one time years ago. Beautiful. That's where the Stanley Hotel, which was the inspiration for The Shining, where Stephen King was staying when he got the idea to write The Shining.
Oh.
Big fan of out there.
I saw that on Smithsonian Channel, Aerial America.
Yeah.
We talked about that. That's a good show.
Yeah.
Where they show like the drone views of like states and stuff. And
it's beautiful out there.
They talked about that hotel.
We came back from hiking one day and there were like 200 elk just decided to stop on a golf course and have a nap. It was unbelievable.
Awesome.
I never seen anything like it.
That's fantastic.
Yep.
The outcome of the trial shocked many observers. It appeared to people that the person who had been sitting handcuffed in a police car when the shooting occurred had received the harshest punishment in the entire case. The sentences for the other participants reinforced that perception. Soriano, Gerzay, and Dupree had already accepted plea deals related to burglary. Their punishments were dramatically lighter. Stephen Dupree received a 4-year prison sentence, while Gerzay and Soriano received 2 years of probation. The contrast between those outcomes and Auman's life sentence became a central point in the criticism. In the months after Auman was sentenced to life without parole in 1998, her case began moving through the normal appeals process. Like most criminal appeals, the early stages focused primarily on legal arguments rather than public attention. Auman's appellate attorneys from the Colorado Public Defender's Office began reviewing the trial records for potential errors, particularly surrounding the burglary charge that had served as the foundation for the felony murder conviction.
Did the other people throw her under the bus and like say that, she orchestrated a burglary here?
So I didn't see any of that, but my guess is they were probably offered pretty good deals to be like, hey, plead to this burglary and we'll let you off the hook so that now we can take that back and throw the book at this lady.
Did they testify in her trial?
I did not see that they did, but I don't know for sure. I tried looking it up. There wasn't a ton of information about her trial.
And the three of them just cut out, right? They left. They weren't involved in the shootout.
No, they weren't present for that. They didn't run from the police. They had just drove their own way home and then were later arrested. Because they had the license plate of the car, so they were able to find them.
Yeah.
So
we really don't have any evidence that she orchestrated a robbery.
No. other than her admitting to them that she told the guys that Cheever, her ex-boyfriend, owned large speakers. Not necessarily a burglary, but she did tell them what possessions he had that might have been valuable.
My boyfriend has such big speakers. You should see the woofers on this thing. It's so huge. She just drew the short straw, right? And had to go driving his fucking Jag-off's Trans Am. Like, if she would have been in the other car, she'd have been fine.
Yeah. It was all Jaehnig's like just blowing up that kind of caused all of it.
Well, though it's because he killed the cop. I mean, it's all blew up because he killed the cop. If that
But I'm
didn't
just
happen,
trying to even figure out a way to what to charge her with exactly. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely not this.
right?
But yeah, I don't know. I'll keep thinking about it.
It seems like it's a simple case of someone's going to prison for killing this cop. And we're going to make sure that someone does.
That's kind of how that Karen Reed case felt. I remember we talked about covering that a lot, but that's kind of similar where that cop was killed and it's like, somebody's going to get in trouble for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the same time, put yourself in the position like you're this cop's kids, and you're like, well, this bitch was helping him get away. She grabbed the wheel. She was helping him steer.
Mm-hmm.
You would agree with the prosecutors. Yeah.
A police officer who was legitimately just doing his job was murdered on this day.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a huge part of this. It's just unfortunate that the chicken shit who killed him ended up killing himself.
Right.
And it caused this whole dilemma.
I feel like if this cop was my dad, I would feel the exact same way. And I think this lady is 100% culpable and an accessory, and she should be in prison.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think out like her intent versus what actually happened and like responsibility. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that.
I don't think
kind of
there's
shit.
any intent at all. I just think.
Even though there's not intent, there's responsibility for what you do. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. You put yourself in a situation with someone like this in a car and,
Right.
you can't do that. This is the kind of stuff that happens when you associate with people like that.
Yeah, like you can't think blindly. Like she had to have been aware that they were sketchy people. Like, you just know if someone's a good, like, oh, is this person a criminal or not? Like,
you're in a stolen car with a methed up dude with an AR-15 in the back seat. I mean, you bear some responsibility for what transpires after that.
Like, there's a difference between hanging out with you and hanging out with some dude all fucked up on meth. You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to tell the difference between who you should hang out with and who you shouldn't.
I agree. I don't think it's a first-degree murder charge, but it's some culpability. You're an idiot.
Well, and what this comes down to, the legality of it comes down to, was this a burglary? Because if it's not a burglary, it doesn't fall under the felony murder rule. Mm-hmm. Burglary would mean theft that was premeditated. You entered the building with the intent to steal Cheever's, the ex-boyfriend's stuff. And that's what the legality comes down to in this case.
That's what it hinges on.
That's what that all hinges on. And I agree with everything you guys said too. Like, you're not really associating with the best people and you should be responsible for some of that. But legally, it all hinges on what was your intent when you entered the building.
We're just talking emotionally here. We're not talking
no.
legal
I
aspect.
understand.
Yeah.
I just wasn't sure if I was clear about that. I wanted to make sure I was clear. Yeah.
Well, the other thing, it took my brain a minute to start working tonight. Like, kind of get back in true crime mode. There's been a lot going on this week.
You had the night off, pal, so you didn't have to be in true crime mode.
We were joking about the bolt cutters earlier. Like, who the fuck would have bolt cutters on them? Maybe it's not a far fetch for some skinhead criminals to have bolt cutters on
for sure.
them. You know what I mean? So maybe this really isn't a fucking burglary at all. It
escalated.
You're hanging out with criminals that just have tools on them to turn it into a burglary.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that's the underlying point. You need that underpinning felony to prove this charge. If she was hitchhiking and he picked her up and then did all this stuff, there's no underlying felony to convict her of this. So you need to prove that she was part of planning a burglary.
If you're driving around with assault rifles in your car, it's not crazy to think you probably have bolt cutters in the car.
Right.
You might just have that. Like, I I don't know what the fuck else you have.
That's
in
a
there.
bold statement. I think there's a lot of law-abiding people with an AR-15 in their car.
I'm not saying they're doing it for criminal purposes,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if you have an assault rifle in your car, you might have bolt cutters. Maybe you're a real man that has a toolbox. I don't fucking know. I don't have a toolbox in my car. I don't know what's in that. Maybe you have a fucking hammer too. There's no hammer in my car, but if you did, I wouldn't think you're a criminal. I'd think you're an actual man.
Fair enough.
I also imagine the gun in this car just being thrown in the trunk kind of thing. Like this wasn't a responsible gun owner kind of thing. Like,
But it wasn't
There's
even in
a
the
difference.
trunk. It
had
was
it
in a
in the
place
back
where
seat.
while he was driving, he was able to get it and start shooting.
yeah, that's true.
Like he was armed and ready for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like we said earlier, when she told Gerze, who kind of was the boyfriend of her friend who brought the guys together, when she asked for no violence, he allegedly said, I can't promise that. Again, I'm not sure what intent that shows, but she definitely knew they were dangerous.
It shows bad judgment with going along with it after that statement was made.
Yeah. But again, Dave, she listens to Grateful Dead.
Bad judgment from day one. I do like Touch of Grey. It's a fucking good tune, but all that other Grateful Dead stuff, no.
Do you listen to Touch of Grey while eating Cherry Garcia?
I might have done that once or twice.
So while the appeals process is beginning, at the same time, Auman's family and friends began quietly organizing efforts to bring attention to what they believed was a deeply unjust outcome. From their perspective, the most shocking fact about the case was simple. Auman had been convicted of murder even though she was already in police custody when Officer VanderJagt was shot. To many people outside the legal system, that fact alone seemed impossible to reconcile with common notions of responsibility. Supporters began reaching out to journalists, lawyers, and criminal justice organizations in an attempt to raise awareness. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, the internet was still relatively new as a tool for legal activism, but Auman's supporters used it to their advantage. They created a website, Lisl.com, dedicated to the case that laid out the timeline of events, summarized the legal arguments, and presented documents from the trial. The site was designed to explain the felony murder rule and argue that it had been misapplied in Auman's case. It also encouraged visitors to contact elected officials and legal organizations to review the conviction. The website really became a focal point for a small but growing community of supporters who believed the case represented a miscarriage of justice. Visitors could read summaries of the trial, examine the timeline of the police chase and shooting, and review arguments about why Auman's arrest should have ended her legal responsibility for what happened afterward. The site also included letters written by Auman from prison and statements from family members describing the emotional toll of the life sentence.
It's like some West Memphis 3 stuff.
Yeah, it really was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Just kind of like that slow grassroots type building of things, people who were paying attention to it at least.
Right.
As the campaign slowly gained traction, supporters began contacting legal advocacy groups that focused on criminal justice reform. One of the most significant organizations they reached out to was the National Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers, or as I call them, NACDL. Not quite as good as the UFO community, huh, Ian?
Yeah, no.
They need a couple more vowels in there. The group had a history of challenging controversial applications of criminal law, particularly doctrines like the felony murder rule that allowed people to be convicted of murder even if they hadn't personally killed anyone. Dave, are you a dues-paying member of NACDL?
I should be because I'm down with their mission statement. These overreaching laws like this are absurd. So we stand
good on
arm
them.
in arm, brothers in arms. I am in total agreement.
Careful, don't say arms. Maybe some document will get you arrested. Talking about guns now, pal.
Be an accessory, first-degree murder.
Though many of these early efforts didn't immediately change the legal trajectory of the case, they helped keep the story alive during the long appeals process. The websites and grassroots campaign created a centralized place where journalists and attorneys could learn about the case, and it laid the groundwork for the broader movement that would emerge once a high-profile figure became involved. In early 2001, Lisl Auman herself wrote a letter from prison to journalist and author Hunter S. Thompson after reading Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. The letter, dated January 4th, 2001, reads, Mr. Hunter S. Thompson, I laughed out loud while reading Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas during my 13 months at the Denver County Jail. Thank you for helping to bring a smile to my face. I am now a hostage at the Colorado Women's Correctional Facility in Canyon City. I feel somewhat connected to you in the surreality of the lives, however different, we lead. Yes, my life is surreal in a nightmarish sort of way. Amongst the many disappointments in my life, one happens to be directly connected to you. These MFs banned your books from this and every other Department of Corrections library. How do you feel about that? I think it sucks. So I can only hope that one day I will be vindicated and I will be able to go home, wherever that is, and pleasure my humor with more of your writing. I, in case you're wondering who the hell I am, not that my case history is who I am, my name is Lisl Auman, and I was convicted of felony murder in 1998 for the murder of a police officer. However, I maintain my innocence. I just turned 25 years old and also have an awesome family who supports me 100% every step of the way. Check out the website they set up for me at lisl.com. Only if you're interested, of course. Bye-bye, Lisl.
Good letter.
A couple weeks later, on January 17th, Thompson wrote back to Auman from his home in Woody Creek, Colorado, stating, Dear Lisl, thanks for your kind note. I remember following your case in the newspapers and being horrified by it. I checked your website today and got some valuable information from it. Tomorrow, I will call your lawyer, Kathy Lord, in Denver, and see what I can learn about your current situation. Maybe I can write a story about it and stir up some interest. We'll see. I don't know what the rules are about sending anything to you in prison, but I'll find out and try to send you something that will make you laugh. Possibly I can help you, but I can't be sure or even optimistic at this point. I don't even know if this letter will reach you at all. So if it does, please let me know immediately. I know what it's like to be locked up and how hard it is to keep your sense of humor cranked. Write me anytime you feel like it. Okay, Hunter. Like you said, Dave, he obviously does not like law enforcement.
He does not.
Had his own issues with the law and being locked up quite a bit.
I don't know much about him at all or anything at all about him, to be honest.
There's a real good documentary on him. I believe it's on Netflix. Gonzo, The Life and Work of Dr. Hunter S. Thompson. It's about 2 hours. It's from 2008. And I think it's on Netflix. I just rewatched it recently. It's really good. If you want like a full overview, that's the thing to dive into. But it is long. It's 2 hours. So it's you really got to be committed. So with that, using his connections in the legal world, Thompson began contacting members of the NACDL and advocating for a serious review of Auman's conviction.
That's NACDL, right, Mike?
NACDL, yeah. I didn't know if I should keep on calling it NACDL, but NACDL. At one gathering at his home during the 2001 Super Bowl, he presented the case to a group of lawyers and challenged them to help free her. He eventually helped form the National Committee to Free Lisl Auman, dedicated to bringing attention to what supporters believed was a great injustice. On May 14th, 2001, Thompson helped organize a rally at the Colorado State Capitol. The rally drew activists, lawyers, and supporters who argued that the felony murder rule had been applied unjustly in Auman's case. Warren Zevon performed an acoustic version of Lawyers, Guns, and Money. Fantastic song, by the way.
Great fucking song.
Yeah, it's a top 10 for me for sure. And Thompson spoke about the dangers of allowing legal doctrines to override common sense and fairness. He framed the case as an example of how the justice system could sometimes assign responsibility far beyond an individual's actual actions. Dave, that kind of plays up what you were talking about before, like just the slippery slope aspect of what this case is.
It's spot on there, absolutely.
A few years later, in 2004, Thompson wrote about the case in a lengthy article for Vanity Fair titled Prisoner of Denver, bringing even more national attention to Auman's situation while her appeals continued to move through the courts. And like we said, that Dave, you had skimmed the article. We have that article. If anybody wants it, let me know. We can send it to you. It's a little lengthy, but it's a good read.
Mm-hmm.
I can throw it in the description.
Okay, there you go. Thompson's involvement with Auman's case is documented in the book Dear Dr. Thompson, and in the documentary Free Lisl, Fear and Loathing in Denver. Though it looks like the only way to watch it is to buy the DVD, and that fucking sucks.
Yeah, no one's doing that.
I kept seeing clips of it on Instagram, and there's like a link, and I'm like, oh fuck yeah, I want to like watch this, but like it just takes you to like a website where you have to buy a DVD.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to stream this. Who the fuck watches DVDs anymore?
Call our gimmick guy and say, what the fuck? Why isn't this on here?
Oh, I haven't even checked that though. Maybe it is. I did buy the book Dear Dr. Thompson. Unfortunately, as we record this, it arrives tomorrow. Throughout the entire appeals process, the Colorado Public Defender's Office continued to argue that Auman's arrest had ended her participation in the immediate flight from the burglary, meaning the felony murder rule should no longer apply to her. The appeal made it all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court, who ultimately rejected that argument, ruling that the arrest of one participant does not necessarily end felony murder liability if another participant remains in immediate flight from the crime. So essentially, her defense is saying once she's arrested, she's no longer fleeing. She's no longer involved with this case. But the Supreme Court said, well, one of her compadres was still out there running. So no, it's still open for all of them. It doesn't close just for her.
Well, I think I agree with that legal argument. If you and I rob a bank and I get shot and arrested by the police, but you're still out there and you kill a cop, in that instance, I think I'm still responsible. When you're in the commission of a felony and you killed a cop, I don't think that's the argument here. If she was actually an active participant in this crime spree, then I don't think being detained prior to your accomplice negates your responsibility for what they ultimately do. I think I agree with that ruling. I don't think that's what really applies here, though.
Yeah, you're saying if she had committed the burglary, if it was a premeditated burglary, her
Right.
being arrested here does not absolve her of the murder.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. And I think I agree with that.
If you and I commit a felony and we rob a bank, just because I get arrested first doesn't absolve me of complicity if you end up killing a cop 5 minutes later. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Should it mean you get a life sentence?
In the scenario I just put forth,
If
yeah,
me and
I
you
think
rob
so.
a bank and I kill a
Not
cop,
in-
but you're in custody, you think so?
Not in this one, but
No, yeah, I'm not saying this. I'm talking your fantasy scenario.
I think so.
Scenario. I'm not sure I can. I go both ways on that.
I think
you're-
the scenario I just told you, I think that's what the law is for. That's what it targets, when people agree and conspire to go out and commit a violent crime. And whether or not I kill the person or you kill the person, we're both equally responsible because we both participated in the planning and the activity of the crime. Just because the cops nab me 30 seconds before you do something doesn't absolve me, I don't think.
I don't disagree with that, but does burglary also constitute a violent crime from the get-go? That's
Probably not. This law is broad and it just
Yeah.
states felony. And no, I don't. Not sure burglary is appropriate. No, I agree with that.
the spirit of the law. I 100% agree with, but then you get into like the minutia of it, and it gets really tough.
I agree with that.
And it's not sure I'm what I want our justice system necessarily doing.
It's overly broad for sure.
Yeah. Well, even though the Supreme Court ruled against the defense in the argument about when she is no longer a part of the crime, they did identify a different issue that raised their collective judicial eyebrows, so to speak. Here's the swerve in the whole case, bro. During Auman's trial, the jury had received flawed instructions regarding the legal definition of theft. Under Colorado law, burglary requires proof that a person entered or remained inside a structure with the intent to commit a crime inside. Most commonly, it's theft. That intent has to exist at the time of the entry. Simply being inside a building where something is later stolen is not automatically burglary unless the prosecution can prove the person intended to commit theft when they entered.
Meaning she just was going to get her shit back, and these yahoos she was with decided to cut the padlock and steal some stuff, and that's not necessarily on her, which I agree with.
And you need the intent to get the burglary. You need the burglary to get the felony murder rule.
Exactly.
That goes back to the prosecutors getting the other three people to plea bargain out for burglary so that they have that in their back pocket saying, we already got them for burglary. Look, this is what this is.
Right.
During Auman's trial, the judge gave the jury instructions explaining how to interpret the theft portion of the burglary charge. However, the instructions were flawed because they allowed jurors to convict Auman of burglary even if they believed she had not intended to steal anything when she first entered the room. So in other words, the instructions blurred the line between someone entering a room with the intent to steal and someone entering a room for another reason and only later becoming involved in somebody stealing. The judge left that open to interpretation of the jurors, and that's not the legal definition of burglary.
Yeah.
In March 2005, the Colorado Supreme Court ruled that the instructions given at trial did not properly explain the legal requirements for theft and burglary. This error was serious enough to undermine the verdict, and the court overturned Auman's burglary and thus felony murder convictions and ordered a new trial. At this point, prosecutors still had the option to retry her, but instead the two sides reached a plea agreement. In July 2005, Auman pleaded guilty to burglary and accessory to first-degree murder. The agreement allowed her to avoid another full trial and replaced her life sentence with a new sentence of 20 years in community corrections. As part of that agreement, she was released from prison in October 2005 and transferred to a community corrections halfway house in Denver. In April 2006, after completing roughly 6 months in the halfway house, Auman was formally released into the community. However, under the terms of her sentence, she remained under close supervision for 8 additional years, including requirements that she remain in the Denver area and comply with monitoring conditions imposed by the corrections system. In the 20 years since her release, Auman herself has largely stayed out of the public spotlight. But based on some of the clips I've seen on that Hunter Thompson documentary we talked about earlier, it looks like she was pretty heavily involved in that and gave interviews and was a part of that documentary. But even still, she's kind of remained quiet. But the legal issues raised by her case have continued to influence debate about the felony murder rule. In 2021, Colorado lawmakers revised the state's felony murder statute. The offense was downgraded from first-degree murder to second-degree murder. Penalties were reduced, and the law now requires that the death be caused by a participant in the underlying crime. So the felony murder rule still exists in Colorado, but it's narrower than it was when Lisl Auman was originally convicted. To close out, and hopefully not lost in all of this, is the murder of a police officer. In the aftermath of the shooting, the Denver Police Department honored Officer Bruce VanderJagt with a full line-of-duty funeral, and his name was later added to memorials recognizing officers killed while serving their communities. For his family, the recognition and remembrance became an important part of preserving his legacy. Like many families of fallen officers, they received ongoing support from the law enforcement community, including organizations that assist the families of officers killed in the line of duty. Over the years, VanderJagt's name has continued to appear in memorial ceremonies honoring fallen officers, ensuring that the circumstances of the case are remembered not only for the legal controversy that followed, but also for the life of the officer who was lost. And Mike did a true crime episode.
How about that?
It's a very interesting episode. I've never heard of this case before. This is completely new for me.
It's really crazy, just the circumstances of it and kind of the questions it raises that we've kind of talked about, tonight.
The thing here is that if that judge hadn't have fucked up with the jury instructions, she would have still been in prison now.
She'd have been in prison forever.
There would have been no basis for appeal.
Well,
she only got out because they tossed out the conviction, and based on Hunter Thompson's involvement in the public outcry, they were like, we don't want to try this again. It's going to be a fucking circus show. We're not going to get 12 impartial jurors because everyone knows this story. But if they had not tossed out the conviction and ordered a retrial, she would still be there to this day.
But do you think the jury would have still convicted her had they had the true definition of theft and burglary?
I don't know.
That would be the big question is
the
judge left it pretty open for them. And based on what they were told, a fucking theft occurred, which now makes it a burglary. She was a part of that. If the prosecution was forced to prove that it was premeditated burglary, could that have changed the outcome?
Possibly, but possibly not. I mean, most people are dopey. That's why you don't take a jury trial. I mean,
dopey. And you also get an attorney, right? When you're going to give 2 interviews.
Well, most people read at a 5th grade level. They don't understand the judge's instructions to begin with. It doesn't matter. I mean, the Supreme Court's going to read it and say, did they give proper jury instructions? But half the jury doesn't understand what the judge said to begin with. So functionally, does it matter? I don't know. But just there's 100 other people in prison, that shouldn't be right now with the same kind of thing. That if there was a dopey judge that said the wrong thing, they'd be out now. But we execute people all the time that we know to be innocent. It almost happened this week.
That's what I'm saying. You can overturn stuff like this when she's sitting in prison forever. You can't overturn someone that's dead.
It's true.
Yeah.
So I'm glad she's out. I don't think it was a 1st-degree murder case. I think there's hundreds of other people that are also in prison right now that shouldn't be because of overreaching and laws like this and just, judicial nonsense.
Good for her, though. She definitely should have been in trouble for something, but not this.
Sure. I agree.
Yeah.
I like what Thompson said when he gave that speech at the rally in May of 2001 about the dangers of allowing legal doctrines to override common sense and fairness. And sometimes I think it's situations like this where it's like, there is no proof that she actually organized a burglary.
Mm-hmm.
She was detained when the murder happened. So then you just go back to a document and say, okay, well, this guy's dead. Now we're charging you with this crime of the officer.
Yeah.
Right. And his sentiment is right across the board when we had all these, war on drugs, mandatory minimum sentencing, where the judge is putting, some 20-year-old girl in prison for 40 years because her boyfriend got caught with a kilo of cocaine and he was living in her house in the closet and all that kind of bullshit.
Yeah.
Where the judge had no discretion, and it's terrible.
Yeah, I feel like there's maybe even a world where if Jaehnig, if he lived, where she would get some kind of awesome deal or immunity even to testify against him in a trial again. You know what I mean?
They would
Absolutely.
have. They would have given her anything just to make sure that he got locked up forever, and he should have been. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I don't want to make it sound. I'm glad that you put that bit about the police officer in the end because I don't want to make it sound like I'm sitting here feeling bad or whatever.
That's exactly why I put that at the end because I didn't want it to seem like we were heavily focused on just getting this chick out of prison. Like, there is still a police officer who was legitimately doing his job and was murdered. And, that needs to be remembered in the back of all of this.
Yeah. But she was a 22-year-old girl who got mixed up with the wrong people trying to go get her shit back from some dopey boyfriend. She wasn't planning a fucking kidnapping or some armored car robbery where a cop got killed in the commission of this fucking felony or something. So it's just not the same situation. It's not what this law was created for. It was misapplied.
Yeah. Again, I said the spirit of the law I agree with, but it needs to be differently enforced.
That's a wild one.
I got the book. It's coming tomorrow. I'm gonna check it out. I want to watch that documentary. If someone can fucking find it, send it to me. I want to watch it, but I'm not gonna buy I don't even own a DVD player. Like who does that anymore?
Nerd.
You saying nerds own them, or I'm a nerd for not owning one?
You're a nerd for not owning one. They're making a comeback. I have a DVD player. Come on, pal.
But why?
They're making a comeback?
Do you watch DVDs?
I don't.
Okay.
I actually just bought, I don't know if you've ever seen this, the made-for-TV movie called World War III from the 80s that I loved when I was a kid. I just bought it on eBay.
Nice.
But my PS5's a DVD player, so I'm going to watch it on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think of that. The PS5 can play DVDs.
Yeah. I
So
think
I guess I do have a DVD player.
There you go.
Fucking weirdo old men. I had the last DVD player I owned was a PS3. I got rid of that.
Yeah, I have it. You gave it to me.
Did I give it to you?
Yeah,
That's
you
right.
gave
It
me
was
the
some games.
PS3.
All right. Well, I'm gonna buy this DVD and I'll come over and watch it at your house.
There you go.
All right, cool.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
That and you probably got like a few SmackDown versus Raw with that one. That was like all the games I had.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. That's all I got. Go read some Hunter Thompson. It's fun. I love reading him.
Weird ending to his life, Hunter Thompson.
Yeah, so I was going to say this. I didn't want to make this all about him, but he was the influence for me doing this. But so that all happened in March of 2005 is when the Supreme Court threw out the conviction. Hunter Thompson killed himself in February of 2005. So he did not live to see all of this end.
Wild.
I believe it was February 20th, 2005. Incidentally, the day Jeff Gordon won his third Daytona 500. It was a big day for me in all kinds of senses.
Very emotional, I'm sure. Lots of ups and downs.
At the time, I was not a Hunter Thompson guy, so I did not know that. But in looking back, the historical significance registered with me, Dave.
You got your pal.
But yeah, February 2005, he shot himself. He always said Hunter Thompson was a pretty dark guy and he hated politics or hated the government. And I think he was really affected by George W. Bush winning the 2000 election. And people had said he always told himself he felt a comfort in knowing that he can just end his life whenever he wanted. And he was a big gun guy, like those documentaries and the one I had told you guys about earlier to watch on Netflix. He's shooting off all kinds of guns. Like he loved that shit. And he was just ready to go whenever he wanted.
It's weird to not try and see this out, though.
Well, I don't think he knew at
Like
the
if
time
you're just
that this was gonna, happen.
Yeah. Was he like really depressed, or did he just decide like that's just it?
I think he was depressed. I mean, people say that he had a long history of drug and alcohol use. He had a lot of health problems. Like I think he needed like a hip replacement, stuff like that. And then I think part of it was like they said like he was no longer like the same big time writer that he had once been. He's writing articles for ESPN and Vanity Fair, not necessarily writing these big books. On top of that, they also attribute it to, and this is legit what they say, like he was a sports fan, and February, when the Super Bowl's over, it's the worst month for sports for him. And he just felt like there was nothing else. And, he had his son, his adult son was over with his wife and kid. And they said it sounded like a book had dropped in his office. Well, it was actually like a gunshot. He had just shot himself in the head.
Oh, goddamn.
Yep. Yeah. Thompson and Hemingway, right? All the greats just go out, just doing it their own way.
Kurt Cobain.
Well, pal, did he do that?
We'll see when Ian does that episode.
Is that going to become like what's the metal show that you guys just have not put together? That we keep.
Oh, yeah. The black metal one, burning down churches.
It'll just be something we talk about forever, but not actually do.
Someday.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
Good job, dude. I like this episode a lot.
Thanks. I was a little nervous. I've never put together like a legit like true crime episode. Most of mine have always been like history based or politician based, whatever. So I was a little nervous how this flowed. I hope it went well, and I hope I explained it properly.
I understood it fine.
Good. I always try to also be a little unbiased as I'm writing the notes. Hopefully I wasn't swerving too much, but there's only so much a man can do. Anyways. All right, Dave, what do you got on your end?
Thank you to new patrons, and this is pretty vile, sir. I hate you for making me read this. Crusty diarrhea analingus for Dave. Come on, pal. Come on.
Fuck.
Kind of sicko would write such a thing. Sean Fernandez, Rodell Hernandez, Kateri Kavanaugh, Edward T., Corey Sandifer, Unt Muhammad, Stu Waddy, Nolano, Heather Hunt, Jonah Immigert, McKenna Beck, Mitchell Thompson, Pirate Madden, Jacob Brackenberry, Estefani Villa, Megan, Miguel Figueroa, Alyssa Allen, Lauren, Summer Womble, M, Joe Thalt, Carissa Grubbs, A. Patterson, Nick Elliott, Faith Wilson, a guy named Q, Sam Nechtel, Simone, Jason. Were you listening to the dude's story, Donnie? Brian D. 970, Zombie Potato, Fuck Ian, Marry Dave, Kill Mike. Mike, I looked at that. I looked at email address up. It was your mom. She signed up under that, so I'm sorry. John Tidyman, More Morbid, V, Matt Mullins, Danny O'Keefe, Feral Goblin Mom, and King Duker, Father of Ferrets. King Duker, Father of Ferrets. Thank you, new patrons.
Ian, what do you got on your end?
On Patreon, we just did the murder of Linda Dam. Very MySpace heavy episode. Used a picture of me from high school for the socials on that. It's an interesting picture.
Hell yeah.
I don't think it clicked with people that it was me.
No.
People thought it was like some
did.
fucking nonsense picture, which it is some nonsense. Yeah. But that was an interesting episode.
It was real good.
Yeah. And then coming up, we have our poll subject was Polybius coming up. That'll be coming up later in March. But that was our poll that you came up with, Dave, and that fucking just blew everything out of the water. 62%. So
boom, winner.
yeah. And that was like real quick. That was over and done with. So we'll be covering that soon.
But a mysterious video game urban legend.
Mm-hmm. It's very fun. There's some reality to it, too, which makes it interesting. Kind of getting the research of urban legend kind of stuff.
Neat.
We also got a Mike's History Corner coming up later this month, so we'll do that on Patreon.
Yes.
Per every March, we'll be celebrating women's history by doing a powerful, impressive, inspiring woman from history. So
what?
Yeah. Nancy Reagan and her blowjobs coming up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
That was audio of Nancy Reagan.
Sure sounded like it. So we got that coming up too. It'll be fun rest of the March. Dave, anything else on your end?
No, sir. I'm all set, pal.
All right. Man, my voice is getting scratchy.
Now you used to all this work.
No, I'm not conditioned. We are on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at Necronomipod, patreon.com/Necronomipod, necronomipod.com, amazon.com, search Necronomipod for all of our merch. Did I say it all?
It sounds good
I
to
blanked
me.
out there. All right, well, that's it. You know where the fuck to find us.
Sounds good to me. All right, you guys ready for a cool down beer?
Cheers.